A single dad's ordinary morning turned into the longest 20 minutes of his life when armed men stormed his favorite cafe. The waitress who always remembered his daughter's hot chocolate order was now bleeding on the floor. He had two choices: run to safety or become the shield she needed. He chose wrong, or maybe, he chose exactly right. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The morning started like every Saturday for the past 3 years. Daniel Hayes pushed open the glass door of Rosie's Café at exactly 7:47 a.m., his 7-year-old daughter Emma's small hand wrapped tight around his fingers. The smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls wrapped around them like a warm blanket. "Mr. Hayes." "And little Emma." The voice belonged to Sarah Chen, the 23-year-old waitress who had worked the morning shift since the café opened. Her smile could light up the darkest room. "Let me guess. Black coffee, extra hot. And one hot chocolate with extra marshmallows and whipped cream for the princess." Emma giggled and nodded, her pigtails bouncing. "You always remember, Miss Sarah." Daniel smiled and guided Emma to their usual corner booth by the window. The same booth where he had sat 3 years ago, the day after the funeral. The day after he buried his wife. The day he realized he had to be both mother and father to Emma. Sarah had been new that day, nervous and dropping menus. But she had noticed Emma's red eyes and brought her a hot chocolate without being asked. She had brought it every Saturday since. Never charged for it either, no matter how many times Daniel tried to pay. That small act of kindness had meant everything to Daniel. Sarah had been new then, nervous and dropping menus. But she had noticed Emma's red eyes and brought her a hot chocolate without being asked. She had brought it every Saturday since. Never charged for it either, no matter how many times Daniel tried to pay. "Sarah's nice," Emma said softly, coloring in her notebook. Horses and rainbows filled the pages. "She looks sad today though." Daniel glanced at the counter. Sarah's eyes were red. Her smile looked forced. Something was wrong. He stood up. "I'll be right back, sweetheart. Keep coloring." Sarah looked up as he approached. She tried to smile but it broke halfway. "Is everything okay? Do you need more?" "Sarah." Daniel's voice was gentle. "What's wrong?" Her eyes filled with tears. She looked around quickly, then back at him. "My brother. Tommy. He borrowed money from some very bad people. $30,000. For gambling debts." Her voice cracked. "They came to my apartment last night. 3 men. They said if Tommy doesn't pay by Monday, they'll hurt him. They'll hurt me. They know where I work. They know everything about me." Daniel's heart dropped. "Did you call the police?" "Tommy begged me not to. He said these people have connections everywhere. He said calling cops would make it worse." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm so scared, Mr. Hayes. I don't have that kind of money. My brother ran away. And these men said they'll come for me instead." Daniel wanted to say something helpful. But he knew the world didn't work that way. He had learned that when cancer took his wife in 6 months. "How much time do you have?" he asked. "Until Monday morning." 2 days. She wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't dump this on you. Let me get Emma's hot chocolate." Daniel watched her walk away. His mind raced. $30,000. He had some savings, about $12,000. Money for Emma's future. For college. For emergencies. Before he could think more, the cafe door exploded open. 3 men rushed inside. They wore black ski masks and carried guns. One fired a shot into the ceiling. The sound was deafening. Emma screamed. "Everybody down. Now." On the ground. Daniel's body moved before his mind caught up. He dove toward Emma, pulling her from the booth and covering her with his body. Around them, people screamed and dropped to the floor. Coffee cups shattered. Chairs fell over. Wallets and phones. Now. Anybody tries to be a hero, you die. Daniel held Emma tight. She was shaking, crying into his chest. Daddy, I'm scared. Shoo, baby. Close your eyes. Don't look. It'll be okay. His heart hammered. One gunman walked between tables, kicking people, grabbing phones and wallets. Another stood by the door. The third one walked toward Sarah at the counter. You. His voice was cold. You're Tommy Chen's sister. Sarah's face went white. Please. I don't know where he is. Please don't. Tommy owes us money. Since he ran like a coward, you pay. He grabbed her arm and dragged her from behind the counter. She screamed. Then you'll send a message to Tommy. Show him what happens when people don't pay. He raised his gun toward her head. Everything moved in slow motion for Daniel. He saw Sarah's terrified face. He remembered her bringing Emma hot chocolate every Saturday for 3 years. Her smile. Her kindness. He remembered his wife in the hospital bed. Her last words, take care of Emma. But don't forget to be human, Daniel. Don't forget that love means protecting people. Even when it's hard. Even when it's scary. Daniel looked down at Emma. Her eyes were squeezed shut, tears streaming down her face. Then he made a choice. He kissed Emma's forehead quickly. Stay down, baby. Don't move. Don't open your eyes. No matter what you hear. Promise me. Daddy. Promise me, Emma. I promise. Daniel stood up. His legs shook but he forced them to move. He walked toward the gunman holding Sarah. Every eye in the cafe followed him. Someone whispered, "What is he doing?" The gunman heard the footsteps and turned. Get back on the ground, old man. Let her go. Daniel's voice was steadier than he expected. She doesn't know where her brother is. This isn't her debt. The gunman laughed. A horrible, cold sound. You want to be a hero? For this girl? I want you to let her go. Daniel took another step. I'll give you money. $12,000. It's in my bank account. You can have it. Just let her go. 12,000. The gunman pushed Sarah to the ground. She fell hard, crying. Tommy owes 30,000. You think 12,000 saves this girl? It's a start. Take it. Let her go. Let everyone go. The gunman walked closer to Daniel. Even through the mask, Daniel could see the cruel eyes. You don't understand how this works. We need to send a message. Can't have people thinking they can borrow our money and run. Can't have people thinking there's no consequences. Then send the message through me. Daniel's heart hammered but his voice stayed calm. Let her go. Hurt me instead. Daddy, no. Emma's scream cut through the cafe. She was sitting up, tears streaming down her face. Daddy. The gunman looked at Emma, then back at Daniel. That your daughter? Daniel's blood turned to ice. Leave her alone. Please. She's just a child. Then why aren't you on the ground protecting her? Why are you standing here playing hero for some waitress? Because my daughter needs to learn that good people protect others. Even when it's hard. Even when it's scary. Daniel's eyes locked with the gunman's. Let the girl go. Do what you want with me. For a long moment, nobody moved. The cafe was silent except for quiet crying and Emma's sobs. Then the gunman raised his gun and pointed it at Daniel's chest. Fine. You want to be a hero? Heroes die. The shot rang out before Daniel could move. The bullet hit him in the left shoulder. The pain exploded through his body like fire. He stumbled back but didn't fall. Blood soaked through his shirt, hot and sticky. Emma screamed. Sarah screamed. People all over the cafe screamed. But Daniel stayed standing. Is that all? He didn't recognize his own voice. It sounded far away. Is that your message? The gunman stared at him. You're crazy. Maybe. Daniel's vision blurred but he kept his eyes open. But she goes free. Right now. Let her walk out that door. The gunman looked at his partners. They nodded slowly. Then he grabbed Sarah by the hair and pulled her up. You get one chance, girl. Run. Tell your brother we're coming for him. Tell him this is what happens to people who try to protect him. He shoved Sarah toward the door. She stumbled, looked back at Daniel with horror in her eyes. Mr. Hayes. Go. Daniel's shout took the last of his strength. Run, Sarah. Go. She ran. The gunman by the door let her pass. She burst through the door and disappeared into the street. Daniel felt relief flood through him. She was safe. Emma was safe. That was all that mattered. Then the pain in his shoulder hit him full force. His knees buckled. He fell to the ground, his hand pressing against the wound. Blood poured between his fingers. Daddy! Emma tried to run to him but someone held her back. An older woman wrapped her arms around Emma, keeping her down. The lead gunman stood over Daniel. Stupid hero. You think you saved her? We know where she lives. We know where she works. We'll find her brother. And we'll find her. Daniel looked up at him through the pain. Maybe. But not today. Today she got away. Today you didn't hurt her in front of all these people. Today your message failed. The gunman's eyes flashed with anger. You want to talk about messages? Let's send a real message. He raised his gun again. This time he pointed it at Daniel's chest. Center mass. A kill shot. Daniel closed his eyes. He thought of Emma. He thought of his wife. He hoped Emma would forgive him. He hoped she would understand why he had to do this. He hoped she would remember him as someone who protected people. The second shot never came. Instead, sirens flooded the street outside. Loud, close, getting closer. Someone must have triggered a silent alarm. Police cars screeched to a stop outside the cafe. Police. Throw down your weapons. Come out with your hands up. The three gunmen looked at each other. The leader cursed and pointed at his partners. Back door. Go. They ran. Within seconds, they were gone, disappearing through the kitchen. Police burst through the front door, guns drawn, shouting commands. But Daniel barely heard them. The world was getting dark around the edges. The pain was fading, which scared him more than the pain itself. Emma, he whispered. My daughter. Please. Someone take care of my daughter. Hands pressed against his shoulder. Someone was talking to him, but the words were muffled. The cafe light seemed very bright, then very dark. The last thing he saw before everything went black was Emma's face above him, tears streaming down her cheeks, her small hands touching his face. Daddy, stay with me. Please don't go. Daddy. Then darkness. Daniel woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The first thing he felt was pain everywhere. His shoulder screamed with every breath. The second thing he saw was Emma, asleep in a chair beside his bed, her head resting on the mattress near his hand. Someone had put a blanket over her shoulders. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. He tried to move and gasped. His entire left side exploded in pain. Thick bandages wrapped his shoulder. Tubes ran from his arm to machines that beeped steadily. Emma's eyes opened. For a moment she just stared, like she couldn't believe he was awake. Then her face crumpled and she burst into tears. "Daddy!" She threw her arms around his neck, careful of the tubes. She sobbed into his chest while Daniel wrapped his good arm around her, tears streaming down his own face. "I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'm okay. You died. I thought you died. There was so much blood and you closed your eyes and you stopped talking," her words tumbled out between sobs. "Shoo, sweetheart. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." Daniel held her tight. "I'm so sorry I scared you." A doctor walked in. "Mr. Hayes. Welcome back. You gave us quite a scare." The doctor explained everything. The bullet had missed major arteries by less than 2 inches. He had lost almost half his blood. He had needed emergency surgery. His heart had stopped once on the operating table. "You're very lucky, Mr. Hayes," the doctor said. "Few more inches and that bullet would have hit your heart." Daniel looked at Emma and smiled through his tears. "Yeah. I do." After the doctor left, Emma said quietly, "Miss Sarah came to see you. Every day. 3 times a day." She pointed to flowers crowding the windowsill. "She brought all those. She cried a lot." "Is she okay?" Daniel asked. "Did those men?" "She's okay. The police got them. All 3. Emma's voice got quieter. "Miss Sarah says you saved her life." Someone knocked on the door. Sarah walked in carrying flowers. When she saw Daniel awake, she froze. Her eyes filled with tears. "Mr. Hayes." Her voice broke. "You're awake." "Sarah." Daniel tried to sit up and winced. Emma helped him. "I'm glad you're safe." Sarah walked to his bedside and set the flowers down. Then she took his hand in both of hers and cried. "You took a bullet for me. You almost died for me. Why? You have Emma. You have everything to live for. I'm nobody to you. Just a waitress." Daniel squeezed her hand gently. "You're not nobody, Sarah. You've been there every Saturday for 3 years. You made Emma smile when we were both drowning in grief. You brought her hot chocolate and never charged me, even though I know tips are tight. You asked about her drawings and her school and her life. You saw us. You cared about us." His voice got thick. "That makes you family. And you protect family." Sarah's tears fell on their joined hands. "I don't know how to repay you. You don't repay family. You just love them back." Daniel smiled. "Are you safe now? Those men. In jail. All 3 of them. My brother turned himself in to the police. He's cooperating, telling them everything about the organization. He feels horrible about what happened. About what you," her voice broke again. "He wants to apologize to you. Tell him I understand. Addiction makes people do desperate things. What matters is that he's getting help now." Sarah wiped her eyes. "The police found out those men had been planning to rob the cafe that day anyway. My brother's debt was just an excuse. They were going to hurt people no matter what. You didn't just save me, Mr. Hayes. You saved everyone in that cafe. You gave people time to call the police. You distracted them." Daniel hadn't thought about it that way. He had just been thinking about protecting Sarah. Protecting Emma from seeing something terrible happen. "I need to tell you something else," Sarah said softly. "The cafe owner, Mr. Peterson, he saw the security footage. He saw everything you did. He's been telling everyone who will listen about what happened. The news picked it up. You're all over the local papers. They're calling you a hero. Daniel shook his head. I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone should do. But most people don't, Emma said quietly. Everyone looked at her. She was staring at her hands. My teacher says lots of people see bad things happen and they don't help. They walk away. They pretend they didn't see. But you didn't walk away, Daddy. Even though you were scared. Even though you could have died. She looked up at him with eyes that looked too old for 7 years. You protected Miss Sarah because it was right. That's what heroes do. Daniel pulled Emma close with his good arm. I protected her because love means protecting people. Your mama taught me that. And I wanted you to know that too. Even when it's scary. Even when it's hard. Sarah reached out and touched Emma's hair gently. Your daddy is the bravest man I've ever met. And you are the luckiest girl in the world. Emma nodded. I know. The next 2 weeks passed slowly. Daniel stayed in the hospital, doing physical therapy for his shoulder. Emma came every day after school, doing her homework in his room, showing him her drawings. Sarah visited every day too. Sometimes she brought food from the cafe. Sometimes she just sat and talked. She told him about her brother getting into rehab. About the police dismantling the criminal organization. About how the cafe had been packed every day since the shooting, with people coming to see where the hero had his coffee. On Daniel's last day in the hospital, Sarah came with Emma and a large envelope. What's this? Daniel asked. Open it, Sarah said, smiling for the first time since the shooting. Inside was a check. Daniel stared at it, not believing the number. $47,000. What, how? The community, Sarah explained, her eyes bright. When people heard what you did, they started donating. Mr. Peterson set up a fund. He thought you would have medical bills. But your insurance covered most of it. So the fund is for you and Emma. For whatever you need. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I can't accept this. You don't have a choice. It's already in your name. Sarah sat beside him. People wanted to help, Mr. Hayes. You protected a stranger when you didn't have to. You taught everyone in this town what courage looks like. Let them say thank you. Emma climbed up on the bed next to Daniel, careful of his shoulder. Daddy, can we use some of it to get a new apartment? One with a bigger bedroom for me. And maybe Miss Sarah can come have dinner sometimes. Daniel looked at Sarah. She was blushing, smiling. I would love that, she said softly. If you don't mind. Daniel pulled Emma close and reached out his good hand to Sarah. She took it. For the first time in 3 years, since his wife died, Daniel felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Hope. Not just survival. Not just getting through each day. But real hope. Hope that life could be good again. That there could be joy and laughter and family, even if that family looked different than before. I think that sounds perfect, he said. 6 months later, Daniel stood in his new apartment, watching Emma and Sarah decorate a cake in the kitchen. They were laughing, flour covering both their faces. Emma was telling Sarah about her day at school, about the art contest she entered, about her new friend Sophie who also loved horses. Sarah listened with complete attention, asking questions, encouraging her. Just like she always did. Just like family does. Daniel's shoulder still hurt sometimes, especially when it rained. The scar would never go away. A thick, puckered line of tissue that stretched from his collarbone to his shoulder blade. But he didn't mind. Every time he looked at it, he remembered the choice he made. The choice to protect someone. The choice to teach Emma that love means sacrifice. The past 6 months had been hard. The physical therapy had been brutal. Learning to use his arm again. Building back strength. The pain that made him cry when Emma couldn't hear. But the past 6 months had also been beautiful. The community had wrapped around them. Mr. Peterson had paid Daniel's medical bills. Neighbors brought food every day for 2 months. Emma's school fundraised to help. Strangers sent cards and donations. The cafe had become a local landmark. People came from all over to see where the hero had his coffee. Mr. Peterson put up a small plaque by their booth, in honor of Daniel Hayes, who showed us what courage looks like. Daniel had asked him to take it down. Mr. Peterson refused. The doorbell rang. Daniel opened it to find Mr. Peterson holding a large box. Special delivery, the old man said. From everyone at Rosie's Café. Inside were framed photos. The cafe staff holding a sign, "Thank you Daniel." Regular customers with their own signs. Hero. You saved us. We love you. There was also a letter. Daniel read it, tears filling his eyes. We wanted you to know, Mr. Peterson said. What you did changed all of us. People are kinder now. More willing to help each other. Last week, a man stopped a teenager from stealing a woman's purse. He said he was inspired by you. Yesterday, someone paid for a homeless person's meal because you reminded them to be brave. You reminded us what community means. Daniel invited him in. They sat around the new dining table, eating cake, talking, laughing. Emma sat between Daniel and Sarah, holding both their hands. The apartment was small but perfect. 2 bedrooms, a living room with big windows, a kitchen where they could cook together. Emma's room was painted purple with stars on the ceiling. Her drawings covered every wall. Pictures of her family. Her old family with Mommy. Her new family with Daddy and Miss Sarah. Later, after Mr. Peterson left, after Emma was in bed, Daniel and Sarah sat together on the couch. The apartment was quiet. Peaceful. I still can't believe this is real, Sarah said softly. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. And now I have this. I have you. I have Emma. I have a family. We're the lucky ones, Daniel said. You saved us too. These past 3 years, you've been the light that kept us going. Sarah looked at him. Your wife. Rachel. Do you think she would approve? Of us? Daniel thought about Rachel's last words. About love and protection. About not letting grief destroy kindness. He thought about how empty his life had felt before Sarah. How Emma smiled more now. Laughed more. I think she would be happy, Daniel said. I think she would love you for loving Emma. For loving me. He touched his scar. I think she would say I kept my promise. Sarah kissed him gently. I love you, Daniel Hayes. I love your courage. I love your kindness. I love you too, Daniel whispered. They talked about the future then. About Sarah maybe moving in permanently. About Emma starting 3rd grade. About the vacation they wanted to take to the beach. About simple, beautiful things that felt precious because they almost didn't get to have them. My brother called today, Sarah said quietly. From rehab. He's been sober for 4 months now. He wanted me to tell you thank you. He said what you did saved his life too. Gave him a reason to get clean. Daniel felt emotion well up. How is he doing? Good. Really good. The therapists say he's making progress. He's facing his demons. Taking responsibility. Sarah's voice got thick. He wants to meet Emma someday. If that's okay. He wants to thank you properly. Of course it's okay, Daniel said. Everyone deserves a second chance. That's what the police said too. About those men who shot you. Sarah's face darkened. They're going to prison for a long time. 25 years minimum. The judge said what they did was terrorism. That they traumatized an entire community. Daniel nodded. He had testified at their trial 2 months ago. Had looked them in the eyes and told the jury what happened. The lead gunman had shown no remorse. Had stared at Daniel with cold hatred. But the other two had cried. Had apologized. Had said they were following orders. The jury had convicted them in less than an hour. Justice was served, Daniel said. Now we move forward. We build our life. We don't let what they did destroy what we have. Sarah smiled and kissed him again. You're the strongest person I know. No, Daniel said. I'm just someone who loves people worth protecting. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. I can't sleep. Can I stay with you guys? They made room. Emma climbed between them, snuggling close. Sarah pulled a blanket over all of them. They sat like that for a long time, watching the city lights, holding each other, being a family. Daddy? Emma said sleepily. Are you glad you protected Miss Sarah that day? Even though you got hurt real bad? Daniel thought about the pain, the fear, the long recovery. But then he thought about Sarah's smile. About these 6 months of healing together. About Emma's laughter. About the community's love and support. Yes, baby. I'm glad. Every single day. Me too. Emma yawned. Because now we have Miss Sarah. And she makes the best hot chocolate. Sarah laughed quietly. Daniel pulled them both closer. They sat until Emma fell asleep. Then Sarah carried her to bed, tucking her in with the gentleness of someone who loved her like a daughter. When Sarah came back, Daniel was looking at the photos from the cafe. What are you thinking? She asked. About how one choice changed everything. How protecting you saved more than just your life. It saved mine too. It saved Emma's. It gave us this family. Sarah took his hand. You taught everyone what courage looks like. Last week, a woman told me she stood up to her abusive husband because of you. She said if you could take a bullet for a stranger, she could find the strength to protect herself. She's in a shelter now. Safe. Getting help. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I had no idea. That's the thing about courage, Sarah said. It spreads. One person's bravery gives others permission to be brave too. You started something that day, Daniel. Something bigger than any of us realized. They talked late into the night. About all the people who had been touched by that morning. The teenager who decided not to drop out of school. The elderly man who started volunteering. The nurse who had treated Daniel and went back to school to become a doctor. Ripples. Endless ripples spreading out from one moment of courage. Finally, Sarah went home. Daniel stood at the window, watching her car disappear down the street. His shoulder ached but his heart felt full. He walked to Emma's room one more time. She was sprawled across her bed now, blankets kicked off, her stuffed horse on the floor. He picked up the horse and tucked it beside her. Pulled the blanket over her shoulders. Kissed her forehead. Sweet dreams, baby girl, he whispered. Daddy loves you so much. He stood there watching her breathe. This beautiful child who had lost her mother but gained so much more. Who had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear but acting despite it. Who had seen her father almost die but also seen him live fully, love deeply, protect fiercely. She would grow up knowing what heroes really looked like. Not capes and powers. But ordinary people making extraordinary choices. Later, after everyone left, Daniel tucked Emma into bed. Her new room was painted purple with stars on the ceiling. Her drawings covered the walls. She looked happy. Truly happy. Daddy, she said sleepily. Are you glad you protected Miss Sarah that day? Even though you got hurt? Daniel thought about the question. He thought about the pain, the fear, the long recovery. But then he thought about Sarah's smile. About these past 6 months of healing together. About Emma's laughter filling their home again. About the community that had wrapped around them with love and support. Yes, baby. I'm glad. Every single day, I'm glad. Me too. Emma yawned. Because now we have Miss Sarah. She's like family. Yeah, Daniel whispered, kissing her forehead. She is. He turned off the light and stood in the doorway, watching Emma sleep. His shoulder ached. It probably always would. But his heart felt full. Fuller than it had in years. His wife had been right. Love means protecting people. Even when it's hard. Even when it's scary. Even when you might lose everything. Because sometimes, when you risk everything for someone else, you don't lose it all. Sometimes, you find something you didn't know you were missing. Sometimes, you find family in the most unexpected places. Sometimes, heroes don't wear capes or carry badges. Sometimes, heroes are just fathers who teach their daughters that courage means standing up when everyone else is down. That love means being a shield for the vulnerable. That humanity means seeing someone in danger and refusing to look away. Daniel walked to his own bedroom, where a photo of his late wife sat on the nightstand. He touched it gently. I hope I made you proud, he whispered. I hope Emma grows up knowing what real love looks like. What real courage looks like. I hope she knows that protecting people is worth the cost. Always. In the kitchen, his phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, thank you for dinner. Thank you for everything. You and Emma are the family I never knew I needed. See you Saturday for coffee? Daniel smiled and typed back, wouldn't miss it. Same table. Same time. Same order. But nothing was the same anymore. Everything was different. Everything was better. Because on one terrifying Saturday morning, a father made a choice. He chose love over fear. Protection over safety. Sacrifice over self-preservation. And that choice changed everything. Not just for him. Not just for Sarah. But for everyone who heard the story. Everyone who learned that one person's courage can inspire a whole community. That one moment of selflessness can ripple outward, touching lives in ways you never imagine. Daniel turned off his bedroom light and lay down. His shoulder hurt. His body was tired. But his heart was full. Tomorrow, Emma would wake up in her purple room. She would draw pictures of horses and rainbows. She would go to school and tell her friends about the cake she made with Miss Sarah. She would come home to a father who showed her that heroes are real, that courage is possible, that love is worth fighting for. And on Saturday, they would go to Rosie's Café. They would sit at their corner booth. Sarah would bring them black coffee and hot chocolate with extra marshmallows and whipped cream. They would be together. They would be safe. They would be family. And that was worth everything. That was worth 2 bullets and a scar that would never fade. That was worth every moment of pain and fear and uncertainty. Because in the end, love always is. Later that night, after Sarah went home, Daniel stood at Emma's bedroom door again, watching her sleep peacefully. He thought about all the Saturdays to come. All the mornings at Rosie's Café. All the hot chocolates and smiles and moments of simple joy. All the years of watching Emma grow up, teaching her about courage and kindness and love. All the life he almost didn't get to live. The doctors had told him how close he had come. 2 inches. That's all that separated him from death. 2 inches between Emma growing up with a father and growing up as an orphan. 2 inches between this new life with Sarah and nothing. But those 2 inches had been enough. He walked to his own bedroom and picked up Rachel's photo from the nightstand. Her smile, frozen forever at 32. beautiful and full of life. I kept my promise, he whispered to her image. I stayed human. I chose love over fear. I protected someone who needed it. And I'm teaching Emma to do the same. I hope that makes you proud. He remembered their last conversation. How she had held his hand with what little strength she had left. How she had made him promise not to let grief turn him bitter. Not to let fear keep him from living. Not to let Emma grow up thinking the world was only darkness. Love is stronger than death, she had whispered. It's stronger than fear. Stronger than pain. Promise me you'll remember that. Promise me you'll keep loving. Keep protecting. Keep being the good man I married. And he had kept that promise. Even when it meant taking a bullet. Even when it meant risking leaving Emma alone. Because some promises are worth keeping no matter the cost. He thought about that morning 6 months ago. How terrified he had been. How his hands had shaken. How every part of him had screamed to stay down, to protect Emma, to let someone else be the hero. But he had stood anyway. He had walked toward danger instead of away from it. He had put himself between a gun and an innocent person. And everything had changed. Not just for him. For everyone who heard the story. For everyone who needed to be reminded that courage was real. That good people existed. That one person could make a difference. The cafe owner who now helped struggling families pay their bills. The businessman who started a scholarship fund in Daniel's name. The teacher who used his story to teach her students about bravery. The counselor who shared it with abuse victims to show them they weren't alone. One moment. One choice. Endless ripples. He set the photo down gently and got into bed. Tomorrow would come with new challenges. His shoulder would hurt when he tried to lift Emma. Physical therapy would push him to his limits. There would be moments of doubt and fear and pain. But there would also be Emma's laughter. Sarah's smile. The warmth of community. The knowledge that he had made a difference. That he had kept his promise to Rachel. That he had shown Emma what love really meant. Not pretty words or easy gestures. But sacrifice. Protection. Being willing to bleed so someone else doesn't have to. But there would also be Emma's laughter. Sarah's smile. The warmth of community. The knowledge that he had made a difference. The knowledge that courage was real and love was powerful and one person could change the world. Daniel closed his eyes, ready for sleep. Ready for tomorrow. Ready for all the tomorrows to come. Because he had learned the most important lesson. Life is precious. Every moment matters. Every choice shapes who we become. Love is powerful enough to overcome fear. Courage is possible even when terror threatens to paralyze us. One person's choice can inspire thousands to be better, braver, kinder. Being a shield for someone who needs it is the highest calling a human being can answer. He thought about Saturday morning. About taking Emma and Sarah to the cafe. About sitting in their corner booth. About Sarah bringing them coffee and hot chocolate like she had for 3 years. But now she would sit with them. Now she would be family, not just their waitress. Now they would make new memories together. Build new traditions. Create a new life from the ashes of tragedy. And sometimes, when you risk everything to protect someone else, you don't lose it all. Sometimes, you gain everything you didn't know you needed. Sometimes, you find family in unexpected places. Sometimes, you find hope in the darkest moments. Sometimes, you find strength you never knew you had. Sometimes, you find that love really is stronger than death, stronger than fear, stronger than pain. Sometimes, heroes are just fathers who stand up when everyone else is down. Just waitresses who bring hot chocolate to sad little girls. Just communities that wrap around the wounded with love and support. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.